Hey guys, what's up? This is new build, Blade Flurry. You probably heard a lot of stuff on like the Reddits and watching streams. Give you my thoughts on it, do a couple maps so you can see the build. Right now I'm on an Elementalist, so maybe I should have showed you this on Inquisitor. Maybe I'll do that later, but ultimately the gameplay is the same. You shield charge around. Most of the time you're going to be one stacking. So what I'm doing here is every pack you see me get to, at least the whites and blues and stuff, I'm just tapping the key once. Okay, so I right click once and most of the stuff dies, and that's true for any build. So like for general speed, you can't really say Blade Flurry is OP. So overall, it's not OP because you have to think about what does the same thing but better, and so that would be stuff like Ball Spark. And that would be stuff like Cost Priest's Discharge, right? Now, another thing is you have to think about, a lot of people get mad because it's tagged as melee, and it's another way to scale it, right? But ultimately, don't think about it as melee. Think about it as just like an ability, right? Overall, and compare it that way. Now, the way this works is you stack it up to 6 stacks, you let go, and all of the shadows that you set in that direction, they come back the same direction as they were targeted. So if I shoot this guy here, where is he? There's no mob. Alright, if I shoot this guy and I let go, the shadows will come back to me this way. So even if I shoot here and then I point this way and let go, they'll still come back from the direction that they were targeted. So that's a little bit important, but not too big a deal. Ultimately, the only thing that will slow you down in maps, I'll do a red after this so that you can see, is how fast you can shield charge to the next pack. So for this build, I would say that Insanity Gloves, once again, standard on any build. I'll show you the single target here. So the single target is pretty good. This is a Shape Dunes, by the way. It's not a white one. And single target is pretty good. The 6 stacks, currently unsure if it's 20%, so 1.2 raised to 1 through 6 stacks, or if it's just 6 times 20 added to 1. That would make a big difference if it was the actual exponential multiplier, right? As different sets, right? So 1.2 as a different set. So jury's still out on that one. I think it works just as like a more though, so 120% more. That would be more feasible. So the way that also that you're going to be clearing is, I'll show you this. I'll show you a red map, right? Okay, Sulfur Wastes. I'll put this one in here. Other thing, I'm Elementalist right now, so I get double the effect from Ice Golem and Lightning Golem. Another thing to note is on this character at least, I spec'd out of Beacon of Ruin because that was giving me some extreme lag, and I didn't need it because I looked at if there were any corpses afterward, and it would shatter everything except for the boss. So this actually does nothing but lag your game. So I went to Pendulum for some more the pseudo Slayer experience, but on Inquisitor you just get Instruments of Virtue, you get Inevitable Judgment, and you're good to go. Overall, if I had to rank them, because today I tried this build on Inquisitor, I tried it on Slayer, and earlier I had it on Shadow, and I have to say with very good gear, Inquisitor takes the #1 spot, just because whether you're using an Ellie Dagger or Physical Dagger, you're going to end up with most of your damage as Elemental, right? The reason I'm not going to do the boss here is just because my Atlas is shaped a certain way that I like it, and I can't kill the boss or else it completes it. So ultimately Templar is #1, and then #2 is between Elementalist and Shadow. So Templar's shield charge is a bit faster because you get the 30% from Instruments of Virtue. If you're using a Crown of Eyes on this guy, I'm using Blade Flurry Radius because I wanted to test it out. But if you're using Crown of Eyes also, the Templar is so good because Instruments of Virtue will give you the spell damage. You get 24% spell damage from above the power charge in Witch, so it's very good. And if you get some on your Amulet, possibly some on your shield if you have really good gear, then you're just the best, right, for Inquisitor. Now, if you're playing on standard and you have like the most geeky gear like Lowe's Bane and stuff, Shadow is probably better at killing bosses, but overall Templar is just going to be the best because also Templar allows it for earlier in the league. If you can only afford like an LE foil or LE dagger or something like that, you're gonna have to go Templar to get the similar level of damage. Also, I want to show you flasks. So diamond and Minktar standard on pretty much any build these days that's crit. You actually, it's not even that big a deal for the diamond flask because with power charges and stuff, I have 82% with this dagger here. So because you only need like really 75% to get capped with a diamond flask, I have 82% without this, right? So that's how crazy daggers are. Without a increased critical strike gem, I'm still like doing max crits or pretty much crit capped and stuff like that. So links, melee fizz, weapon LE, blade flurry, added lightning, physical to lightning, increased AoE. Reason being, it's much better to scale LE. It's a lot easier to just convert from fizz. So if you look here, most of my damage is elemental anyways. That's gonna be true whether you have elemental weapon or physical weapon. So just keep that in mind, that all your damage is gonna be scaled by WED. So because you have so much LE damage, you want the big rolls on the jewels, sorry, not on the jewels. You want the big LE rolls on rings. It's very easy to get, right? Because it's a prefix. And then you want it on your amulet as well. WED is better than added, okay, for sure, because you're using weapon elemental damage support. So that does a more multiplier to all of it. It's very, very good. Secondly, other things I'm using a lot of auras here. So low life is just if you want to go full potato. If you want the safety, you know, being immune to chaos isn't negligible. It's something that's really good. So you get a lot more ES if you go CI, but you have to drop a herald and you have to drop haste. And I'm not willing to do that. I want to go full potato. I want to shield charge fast because that's the only thing that's going to stop me from clearing. And 99.9% of the time you're clearing. Okay, if you're going end game, there's better builds. You can go Blade Vortex. You can go Ancestral Warchief if you just want to do bosses. So I'll show you another red map. This is T14. I'll put Invasion on it just for 20% quantity, and talk about a little bit about the flasks. So Dying Sun, I think, is necessary. With Dying Sun, if you're standing here, you can shoot to where this ice golem icon is. It adds so much AoE, and especially on maps with elevation, the way that the targeting works, it doesn't matter on elevation. It's just inches on the screen, so you can really get some pretty insane DPS, and that's really good. Also, I'm using a Taste of Hate, but that's not necessary because it actually puts me in a lot of danger because there's no freeze immune. So I'm actually going to go back to freeze immune, either basalt or quicksilver, or maybe even sulfur if I want to go full potato deeps. And other than that, you know, you can take a look. The damage is pretty good, but if you've played Cosplays or Volspark, you'll know that those are better. And what else is there to talk about? Other links, Vol Haste, because you don't need this skill is probably the best in terms of the balance. Okay, you don't need another skill for single target. PvE has done a great job in incorporating both into that. And another thing you can do is you get a little bit of freedom on the tree as well. So for example, if I wanted to get both the nodes in Templar and in Witch, so what I mean by that is in here, I wanted to go across here for like accuracy. These 4 points I think are an amazing balance of points. I also want the AoE here. And so it's a standard, almost similar to the Cosprey's discharge build, right? You get the Adder's Touch, and this tree looks like this basically. Very standard crit CI or crit energy shield build. Now with Crown of Eyes, you'll take this point here. Jewels, you want like damage, one-handed fizz if you're going, this is only if you're going to physical dagger. Otherwise, you're gonna have different priorities, but attack speed, physical damage, that's about it. I'll show you a map also with Benos. Benos is the budget option. You can do this build with almost like any weapon. Here, let me go put on my Benos to finish out this map actually. So you guys can see that it's really not any different at all. Blood magic on that. There we go. I'll put this over here. Oh, I need to like redo my thing. Okay. Go back in for this. Now I gotta redo aura, so that kind of sucks, but Beano's tooltip will actually be higher because it has higher crit, but it won't actually actually be more damage, so don't worry about that. Alright, let's go back into this map. So as you see, the shield charge speed goes down a lot, but Beano's damage is still extremely good, and I'll show you here that no matter what weapon you use, right, I recommend like actually Beano's now that I think about it, for a budget option. The clear speed is the same, right? Oh, that's a boss, okay. I didn't even know that, I would have popped my flask, but damage is okay. T14, no big deal. Run some more maps here. And I'll talk about like what I think about some of the other classes too. Okay, like everything gets one shot. So a thing about Assassin is if you have to choose between Assassin and Templar, I would actually choose Templar because the culling is nothing. Okay, culling strike, like in 2016, does not matter. Your hits aren't small enough basically to, most of the time, to implement a cull, right? And then also you get the multi from, I think you get 65, no, you get 75 multi from Templar Ascendancies, so that kind of outdoes the multi from Power Charge Ascendancy from the Assassin, so I like Templar better. And overall the build, you want, okay, so you want ES on everything. You need a shafts for this. You need a Crown of Eyes is probably the best because easily get accuracy, and you get the spell damage converted, and that's really good for the amulet and shield if you have it. Skyforce for charge generation. I'm using a Headhunter, but you don't need this. Crystal Belt with flash charges reduced will be better, more smooth. Because if you get Shroud Rocker, you're gonna hate it, right? And just Physical Dagger or High Ellie Dagger or Foil if you can't afford like a good dagger. Now, one thing I'll say about the build, I have to talk about the build overall. It's not the best, okay? The reason people think it's the best because they see streamers playing it with like the end game gear. If you don't have like the good gears, it's not gonna feel as good as a whole lot of other builds. So I'll just say that. Anything else to talk? I think I've been talking long enough. Overall, that's the build. Substitutions on the tree. You can go life base if you want to go. Oh, don't go Slayer, okay? I tried out Slayer as well, and the like 11 to 14 points I think that you spend getting over here is not worth it, right? And if you go life, you spend too many points on life. I don't like life very much. Super secret tech, if you're Elementalists, get this node, because what's going to happen is your golems are always going to be up. You'll never have to recast it. So that's for like the lazy player right there. You get the golems. And don't do cast when damage taken, because cast when damage taken, it'll end up where you have two of the same golem, because it does top left first. Other than that, the build is fun. Stacks are nice. Mana issues aren't really an issue if you have like maybe a little bit of regen, maybe clarity on life. And if you have Crown of Eyes especially, you'll be okay with the manas. Anything else to talk about? No, that's about it. Overall, it's okay. So, have any questions, you can post your comments or whisper me in game.